Right, so what we're going to do today is some body shell repairs using shoe goo and drywall tape. What I'd recommend you have is of course your broken body shell or brand new body shell that you want to reinforce. Shoe goo, usually when you buy the 55mm tubes or bigger you get the little spatula with it, which is quite handy for not getting it on your fingers. Scissors, hairdryer optional, ideal for bigger repair areas. This is the shell that I'm doing today is the centre part of a Losi 5ive-T body, so quite big. So I will be using that. Put that to one side. If you've got a big split, a big crack that you're wanting to do, Gorilla Tape is good for holding the two pieces together. This being what it is, quite thin and quite big. It's quite flimsy, it doesn't have many sort of supporting areas, so this will work out perfect for holding the two pieces together, because the shoe goo, it comes out quite liquid and it can take a little bit of a while to dry. The hairdryer does help, but it's not an immediate fix, so Gorilla Tape works really well there. And then obviously the drywall tape, which for those who don't know what it is, hopefully you can see it there, it's like almost like a netted tape, obviously sticky on one side, although it doesn't stick terribly well because there's not much contact surface, but that's what the shoe goo is for. So, and of course the most important, a cup of tea. So let's get cracking. All I basically do is apply a reasonably thin layer of shoe goo. This just helps the drywall tape stick initially. Also be careful if you're near windows. It does dry fairly clear, but you'd still be able to see it if that kind of thing bothers you. As this is actually a friend's body shell, I'm going to attempt to do it quite neatly. You'll have to forgive me a bit if I'm in my own light here, but it's the best I can do at the moment. Once you've got that applied just like that, get some of your drywall tape. Also, it's quite potent stuff, so it is worth opening a window or being in a well ventilated area. Apply some more, just a fairly thin layer. The first layer I did was fairly thin and wide. This layer is going to be fairly similar to that layer, just to make sure you've got a full covering and I suppose a solid base-ish to build on. Imagine this, for those out there who do painting, imagine this is sort of like your primer. Just get the hairdryer on it and just go over it a little bit. There's one thing to remember, just don't get it too hot if you do choose to use a hairdryer. If you get it too hot, it won't set hard, it'll keep sort of going back to its liquid form, so that's just worth remembering if you do choose to use a hairdryer or a heat gun or something similar to sort of speed up the process a little bit. So that's had, well actually truthfully that's had overnight to dry. You don't need to leave it that long. My circumstances just dictated that I did. Due to me making the last video quite late on, and I had to be up early, so I went off and let it dry overnight. So now that's, even just with that tiny little amount, that's held in place reasonably well, certainly well enough to make a start on the top part. Now what you want to be just doubly sure of at this point is when you're doing the very end, is make sure that it is held together. You might not really be able to see this. I'm using Gorilla Tape here, which for those who've used it will know it's very, very strong stuff. A normal tape may hold it, but on a body shell of this size it does really need quite a lot to hold it in place. So we're just going to measure up our next piece before applying the shoe goo. So it's quite a fine layer as before. So it's just a nice fine layer. Just want a nice fine layer, nothing too thick. Stick our drywall tape on. Like so. And you might also find that the initial shoe goo that you put on isn't quite enough to cover the whole tape. Don't worry about that, as long as there's plenty on the actual part that's cracked, or if you're just reinforcing a body, then the main part that you're aiming to reinforce, then that's fine. You can always add more later. So we'll get the hairdryer on it and be back shortly. This has now had a good couple of hours drying. Just get it measured up here. Saves you taking it off, putting it back on. It doesn't really matter if that touches, gets inside the body shell, it's not going to get seen anyway. Now with this coat, because I feel it's probably going to be the last coat, maybe, I'm going to be quite liberal with my shoe goo, because now it's actually together, and after taking the tape off and etc. You don't need to worry about it drying quickly and holding it together to make your life easier. It's all held together, so if you have to leave it overnight for it to fully set, it's not really a problem. So you can be liberal with your top coat, especially over the actual sort of cracked, affected area. Or again, if you're doing this to a brand new shell, your most liberal parts are where you believe the weak spots are going to be. So quite a thick layer up the actual crack, especially where I just put two layers on where them two overlap, a decent thick coat, then it definitely presses all the way through and it has a good better bond then. So we'll get the hairdryer on this, we'll be back shortly. So this is now dried completely, both sides. This side has had 3 layers in total, this side has had 2 on the main parts, and then one overlaps just here on the corner part where it's most likely to get hit. So that part's actually had 3. I think that's fine, it's strong enough, it's perfectly rigid. I'll bring you over here to show you better. You can still see the cracks, but it's going to hold together. As you can see, they're trying to pull it apart, and it's just nice and flexible. It's not going to crack. There again. I'm going to be doing the two back pieces, which I can show you. Better there, which have just gone there and there, so they're obviously again weak points, and just on the corners that seem to take the abuse. So I will get those done, and although they're not a huge problem, the whole shell isn't gonna let go just thanks to them. It was mainly that one, and then you can see that one there's the much longer one that travels all the way down and across. So those were the main ones. I'll leave links in the description to the shoe goo. I use these 55mm tubes. You get 2 for in the UK I think it's about £8, and I can't remember how much the drywall tape is. It was a while ago when I actually bought this, but a roll lasts ages. This will also do when you get 2 tubes of this. I mean, that's how much I've used. If I push it all the way, not very much, to be fair. So you'll get a lot of body shop repairs out of 2 of those tubes. And obviously when you buy these ones you do get the little spatula there, which, you know, isn't essential. A credit card or something similar will work, but that's just quite handy there. So yeah, that's about it. If there's any questions, comments, you know, like, subscribe and all that good stuff, it's all highly appreciated, and I'll see you on the next video.